So I wanted to address something. I just had a late night reading with a client, and I want to talk to you guys about the masculine who's highly attracted to you, and you're definitely a rare type of woman that is incredibly loyal, incredibly loving, incredibly generous, good looking, or beautiful, whatever. And you're not like other women. And the deeper he gets into, and you're not crazy, he was always attracted to you. In fact, the reason why the conversation started was he was attracted to the way you looked, the way you moved, your scent, all of it. And then as he got deeper and deeper in conversation with you, you started intimidating the shit out of himself, because he was realizing that you weren't a bimbo. You weren't an easy chick, meaning you weren't going to just be a friends with benefits or some other things. You're the kind of woman that is all in. You have to go all in. You're that kind of woman. And what ensues is, and this is something women don't understand, and a lot of people have forgotten how women used to chase men 2, 3, 4, 500 years ago. The old story of dropping the handkerchief was really a story about how women chose a man. If the woman dropped her handkerchief, she made sure she dropped the handkerchief at the feet of the best looking man, of the man she wanted. And so when the man, picked up the handkerchief to hand it back to her, right? Because he had to either walk after her or find her and go, hey, you dropped this. That would ensue a conversation and a connection would develop. If he wasn't interested, he didn't pick up the handkerchief. This is how women in the old days used to do it. Dropping the handkerchief was a way of saying, I want you. It was cracking the door open. And I don't think people know that. So when a woman does that, when a woman says to a man, I find you attractive, or I find you're very special, because she's trying to also pump him up, right? And she's saying all these compliments. In a way, she's cracking the door open. She's basically saying, should you wish to continue this conversation on a deeper level of, say, let's go dating, let's find out if there's something there, the man will say, yeah, let's do that. Are you free for dinner on Thursday? Have people stopped learning how to court? Is that something they don't know how to do? Do people really use dating app exclusively to open the door, and you guys are talking about whatever, but you're not like courting? And courting is not asking a woman after dinner or during dinner, am I going to be lucky tonight? That's not courting. That's predatory behavior. But I digress. Let's go back to this client. So she basically, he's a guy, he's a podcaster, he's good looking. There are better looking men on the planet. There's always going to be better looking people, but he's attractive. And he still has very toxic behavior. And she started realizing it, thank God, before they ever got intimate. But he felt really down in the dumps. But ultimately what happened was that he just wanted female attention. And because he's a podcaster, he's been getting a lot of female attention, going, oh my God, you're an awakened man. Because he's doing a lot of podcasting on men growing, healing, on the healing journey. And like many, many men and many women in the spiritual self-help world, he's not walking his talk. Because instead of saying to her, listen, I'm just having my bachelor phase, like I just want to fuck everything that isn't nailed down. I go on mini vacations to Mexico. I do little things. I go here and there and I just get laid. That's all I want to do. I really don't want to commit to anything. I just got divorced. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to, do it. And instead of saying that and saying, but can we be friends? Can we be platonic? Or can we do friends with benefits? He's gone silent. He's afraid to make eye contact with her, and so forth. And so for a woman who is a real woman, who will crack the door ajar, sorry, I can't talk, and drop the handkerchief in front of a man to say, hey, I'm interested. If you're a real man, there are a lot of them. I've met a lot of them. Some of them are polyamorous, saying, I can't be celibate, or I can't be monogamous to you, or I can never ever tell you I won't cheat on you, because I probably will, because it's just how I'm wired. There are men out there. I actually have friends like that who will say to a woman, this is what I can do, but I'm definitely never going to be that. This I'll never be able to do, which is monogamy, loyalty. I want options. I'll always want options. Fuck, if I could actually legally marry 3 women, I would. That's honest shit. And then the woman can say, yeah, that's a definitely deal breaker. I'm out. She asked me if I hadn't put myself out there saying, hey, I'm attracted to you. I find you fascinating. I think you're brilliant. And that's all she said. And then he didn't respond, right? But had I not said that, what would have happened? And I said to her, and I read the cards, and I said to her, he would have had you strung out for a long time trying to figure out when he was going to make the move. When was he going to make the kiss? When was he going to lean in? It would have gone on and on and on and on. And so guess what I will say to you as women, from woman to woman? Best to get it over with. Drop that handkerchief, crack the door ajar, and say, hey, I think we've got a connection. Should we go out to dinner and see where it can go? I find you attractive. And if he runs, good. Let him run. Let the door hit him on the fucking ass. Let it go. I had a man do that to me before I connected with my twin. It's actually why I ended up going, oh my God, this is not the person I want. I want this. But anyway, I remember he kept making eye contact, chasing me, flirting me, saying nothing. And finally, I handed him a gift, my phone number. And I said, call me. And it took him a week to gather the balls to do it. And then we went on a couple walks in the woods, had coffee. And as I spoke to him, I realized he was a bimbo. And he said, I'm not that interesting. I'm not that type of guy. I don't think I can keep up with the way you think. He said that. And I said, well, no, that's not really the problem. The problem is that you've never been faithful to your wife in the 13-year marriage that you're in. I didn't know he was married until then. And at that point, we realized that it was not going to be a match. But let me just say this. It made the situation, it catapulted the situation faster than fucking letting this go on for a fucking year. Do you understand? And so sometimes, and it's something I've never done. I've never chased a man. But in this case, I was like, you know what? Fuck, he's never going to ask me. So let me give him my phone number. Let's see where it goes. And let's do X, Y, and Z. And I found over the years, well, I mean, not that I'm dating at all, as you probably know, but I found over the years when I go back into my early beginnings of dating, which started around, I'd say 17, and that if I was upfront with men, I didn't ask them out, but if I could see them flirting with me, I would just go ahead and drop that handkerchief in front of them and see if they picked it up or not. And if they didn't pick it up out of fear, because a lot of men are afraid of women who make them feel as if they have to step up and be better men. And that's the problem. Most men, and I've talked to too many men over the years, most men will know the woman they're going to marry. I remember one of my clients was showing me a picture of a woman he met at a crypto conference, and he said, I'd be faithful to her. I go, really? Why? He goes, there's something about her when I met her. I'd be absolutely faithful. I'd marry her tomorrow. Men know. And when men aren't ready to step up to be that guy who protects his woman and loves her and nurtures her and takes care of her, and they take care of each other, and there's a yin yang energy that's going on that's really healthy, when he knows that he's broken, when he knows that he can't be that guy, he will ogle you, goggle you, desire you, look at your fucking Instagram, all that shit, and never make a move. That's your answer. He's not man enough for you, because he's not going to do what he needs to do to ask you what he needs to ask you. Okay? So your job is to crack that door a little open, just to let some light in. You know? Eye contact, holding the gaze, lowering your eyes, and then eye contact again. And if they don't get that, then you don't want him. And this is something I think women better start realizing, that real men, they'll go up to you and see if there's a chance. They'll look, as smart real men will look at your finger to make sure there's no wedding ring. And a real man will ask. You may say no because you're not interested. And real men don't harass women. They don't go on and on and on about how, why, what's your phone number. No is a no. It's not a game. It's an N-O. It's a fucking no. But it's almost like men don't even know how to pick up the cues of a woman. If she's avoiding your eye gaze, she's not interested. If she has a wedding ring, even if it's fake so she doesn't get bothered, she's not interested. If she's reluctant in giving you her phone number, she's not interested. But if she is like watching you flirt with her and she's flirting back, she's interested. Why are you sitting in the sidelines? What are we doing here? Are we 6 years old here? Is this romper room? It's interesting because some of the most famous, rich men get chased by women. I would call them groupies. Firemen have groupies. There's different, like even armed forces. Some of these, they'll have groupies. And so certain men get chased so much, they forget how to chase the woman. And it's interesting because the women who really, really will chase you down aren't the woman you really want to have a long-term relationship with. I said it. Because the woman who really wants a man is sitting in the back. She'll drop her handkerchief and you're not paying attention. She's not going to do it again. She might lock eyes with you, nod her head, and walk by you so you can smell her perfume, feel her energy. And if you don't make a move with that energy, then I don't know what to say. Because the women who are easy to have, they will chase you. And they will not end up being the person you thought they were. I think we've lost our roles here, because I'm repeating myself again. 400 or 500 years ago, women subtly cracked the door with the handkerchief, the eye contact. Men should be reading books about women. I'm sorry. At this point, I think if you're not reading books about women, then you don't really want to know what makes a woman tick. Even there was a scene in Clint Eastwood, in a Clint Eastwood movie. I forgot the movie actually, but he's probably in his prime. He's probably in his 50s. He looks amazing. And he's got a stack of fucking women magazines. I think he's a detective and he's waiting for something to go down. And he's reading Vogue, Elle, Cosmopolitan. And his partner comes up to the window and says, "What are you doing?" He says, "I'm reading women's magazine." He goes, "Why?" "I'm trying to understand them." He said, "Give up. You'll never understand them." But I don't agree. One of the books that my beloved read was Women Who Run with the Wolves by, I'm not kidding, he read the whole thing, by Clarissa Pinkola Estes. And that gave him an insight on the psyche of the feminine mind. You would think that men who want to hit that would want to really understand why women feel how they feel about the masculine, and even maybe even some concerns and fears and anger towards the masculine. I mean, you would think that they would ask questions and go, well, you know, what has been your experience with men? I mean, do you trust men? Are you afraid of men? I would think that would be a good question on a date, on a walk. around the park or in a coffee joint? What has been your experience with men? And really listen, not to answer defensively, but to lean in. And I would think that a woman would see that not as a trap, but as an opportunity to share. And then if you're smart as a woman, you would ask, well, what is it about women? Do you trust women? What kind of experiences have you had with women? And one of the green flags is the way a person talks about their exes. That you either outgrew each other, that you tried your best, you both tried your best, that you may not still be friends, but you still have great affection for them and you wish them the best. A red flag is they were crazy. Every single one of them was crazy. That's the kind of red flag that should make you thank them for the coffee, thank them for the hour, the day, whatever, and fucking leave. I think that dating, in my opinion, from what I'm seeing, has become a commercial opportunity, an opportunity to get laid for a $100 dinner and for a girl to get a meal. You know what I mean? And one girl was bragging that she had not bought herself dinner in 30 days because she was dating every single day. And so she saw the opportunity that dating a man a day would feed her every day. That's fucked up. And that's actually low. And it's low because if you want to put yourself out there on that level, you may want to just go big or go home, meaning go get yourself a sugar daddy. At least that's honest. Then you only have one client. You're not hustling. You're not fucking up 30 men in 30 days or however you're doing it. And you're getting what you need, which is ultimately you want to be taken care of. Women that I work with who come from all over the world are extremely strong, beautiful, smart as a whip, ambitious, loyal as fuck, and incredibly sensual. Many of them are very sensual and wild in bed, but not every man can have them. In other words, they're not up for grabs. You have to be compelling as a man to get into her sanctuary. And I think you should be discerning. If you can't pick up the cues that she's interested, I don't know, maybe watch movies, romantic movies, so you understand what the cues are. I think mothers and fathers are not teaching their sons how to fucking pick up the cues, or their daughters. The daughters they don't have a clue. It looks like no one has a clue. And so what's happening, what I'm noticing, is that people across the planet are becoming celibate. They're like, fuck this. Fuck this. It's going to have to be really, really amazing before I even consider bringing someone else into my life. Okay? Which is blowing my mind because when I was young, right? And I mean young, like a kid in my 20s, I didn't have, I had options, you know what I mean? And some of them were friends with benefits. Some of them were like, a moment in time. I'm just going to say it. And then eventually I ended up being 21, 22 years old, waking up all cuddly with my man until our separation. And then finally my next one until, he passed. And so my point to you is that love, you deserve love. You deserve to be with a partner, and you deserve to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning in each other's arms, or holding each other's hands, or laughing softly and telling each other stories as the sun rises. I mean, I think everyone should be happy in that way. And I don't understand why it is so hard to date. Now, let me say one thing. I've never dated. Ever. None of the men I ever connected with were dates. They were connections, meetings at beaches, through friends. And then we would not date. We would get to know each other, and then After we got to know each other, after there was a commitment, then I got to pull out the gorgeous dresses to go out for a fabulous dinner, to an opera, to a musical concert or whatever. But we never dated in the beginning. Well, we weren't, and it was weird. No one taught me this. No one taught these men this either. It was almost like we understood that what was important was the connection, not the whole trappings of dating, not the whole pressure of dating, getting a dress, high heels, you're paying dinner, you're stressed out because you really want to get laid, and you're hoping that if you pay for the meal, you're going to be lucky. And all of that is so crass, nasty, vulgar, and weird that you probably shouldn't do that at all. If you can't afford to date, you probably should not date at all. And women who are actually using men, good men, some of them are good men, not all of them obviously, but some of them are good men. Don't ruin good men for other women. You're going to get, the karma is going to be a bitch. The 21st century has taught me that karma is really kicking the shit out of people. And right now you're seeing an imbalance with the billionaires, don't get me wrong, but the karma is going to be a fucking boomerang, and you will be there to see it. Trust me, don't worry. No one's getting away with a fucking thing. The e-files, the emails, the rumors, the bubbas, all that shit is on the fucking table, and the lights are on. Okay? So you don't have to worry about karma. But karma, when you fuck with people and you use them in any way, and this is a warning to men and women, don't take a woman out because you want to fuck her. Don't take a man out because you want your dinner. Don't do that shit. And I think it's time for elders, for us as elders, to start telling younger people, stop fucking around. Because to tell the universe that you can't afford to fucking buy your own dinner is such a level of stupid and low that the universe is going to think you're always poor, broke, and beautiful, and they will keep you poor, broke, and beautiful, begging for your meals, using dates as a way to get it. Just like men, if you can't afford to date a girl, you can't afford to take her out to dinner, then don't. There are situationships that you can actually establish. Ashley Madison, or what was it called? Was it called Ashley Madison? I forgot the one, where people could hook up. Get yourself a friend with benefits. Stop your bullshit. Don't pressure fucking girls on any level. And I think once those rules of engagement are normalized once again, because they're not clearly, do you think any man I ever dated at 20 and ever thought he was going to get laid? No, he fucking didn't even assume it. That's absurd. And it comes off creepy and predatory. And you come off like you're dangerous. That's why women on Facebook has formed this little group, which I'm not a fan of, actually. But there's so many creeps, to be honest, that I can see why it happened, where it's, did you date this man? And of course, men decided to do the same, which I can't say I blame them. But you see how the gender wars are getting worse and worse. It's because people are predatory on both sides of the fence. So dating, I think, should be when you've established, hey, I really dig you, man, and we've had great sex, we're having a great time. I don't know if we're going to commit, but it looks good. I'm feeling things for you. Yeah, let's go out to dinner. My treat, your treat. And you kind of, I'm not saying go Dutch, but you could take turns. How's that for an idea? And have fun. And eventually move in. I've had clients who've actually dated for 14 years, and I'm like, wait, hang on, are you still in high school? Like, if you're still dating after a year, you may want to, I'm laughing here because I'm like, what the fuck's going on here? You're dating for, what are we doing here? Do you want a relationship, or do you want to date like 4 or 5 men or 4 or 5 women and be a perpetual bachelor? Well, okay, enjoy, but let the woman know that's what you're up to. Or the man. And what I loved about certain men that I would have dated but did not was some of them would say, I just want to fuck. I'd say, well, thank you. That was honest, and I appreciate you. And it's a no. That'd be it. But we had fun, and we would leave it at that. Where are those men? Are they still talking that honestly? Because if they are, don't put them down for that, because at least you know where you stand. Raise my... Okay, whatever. I should never look at comments because they're never part of the thing. Anyway, so with this woman, who's a client of mine, I've had her as a client, she finally is walking away from her twin flame permanently. She's actually called it a day, and I'll tell you why. He is an atheist. He doesn't believe in anything. He doesn't understand karma, nor does he believe in it. And he has told her, I don't know why I can't get you out of my mind. I don't know why you come in my dreams. It went so far as him waking up in the morning with tears on his face. He woke up crying, not knowing why, but knowing he had thought of her. But he still wanted to lose. And he still went for a mail order bride, which is something happening big right now. A lot of men are going for what they feel is a subservient wife, and they're coming out of different parts of the world, and because they don't want to be controlled, they don't want to feel. They want to be in control. They want the sex. They want the subjugation. They want to know that they are the boss of the house. They want to, I don't know what the fuck else they want, but they want not to be in balance. They do not want to be equals to their woman. The woman must walk 10 steps behind, I guess. And so that's exactly what he did. And he fucked things so bad that he's entangled in a situation where now he has a child with this mail order bride. And that's it. And her relationship with him continued for a little while, for like 2-3 years. And she hit the wall. Because he was never going to grow up. He was never going to walk out of the harm that he had caused. Now he had added not just his twin, but a mail order bride, a child, another child, his other daughters from in other words, he'd fucked up probably about 9 people. Because he was afraid to love. Afraid to say, you are my equal, and you trigger the fuck out of me and scares me, and it's exciting. When we make love, I feel like I'm out of my body. I'm blissed out. This is incredible. And this client kept asking me, and I'm going to be blunt with you, how's the sex with them? And I would throw the cards. I say, it's shit. It's shit. And she thought, I think she thought I was saying it to kiss her ass. I don't lie. And she said, I can't believe it. Like a couple months later, she said, I had a meeting. I met with him. I want to do a reading. Can you do it now? And I went, yeah, okay. She said, guess what? He told me the sex is shit. I go, yeah, I told you it was shit. I'm not lying to you. The sex is shit. She goes, but I don't understand. Why would he marry her if he knew the sex was shit? And I said, because when people are hell-bent on something and they want to control something and they're running away from something that triggers them, a twin flame, they will actually create a facade story that they will believe about the person they're about to commit to, who is actually shit for them. They'll actually, the bad sex that now is bad was always bad, but in that realm they kind of adjusted to it and went, well, you know, it'll get better, or they have a fantasy about you or someone else, and suddenly it all works. But they had to like really try hard to make it work, and then they convince themselves that as they stay longer and longer with this person, that level of intimacy will improve over time. In other words, they also superimpose their desires on a person who will never meet those expectations. It's fascinating, actually, how we fuck ourselves with urgency. Okay? So when I told her the sex is shit, this particular client would ask me, well, how are they doing? I'd say, shit. She goes, how can it be shit? They've only been married 6 months. I'm telling you it's shit. And it was shit. And eventually, when you're a fucked up marriage, that's shit from the giddy up, which is not normal. Let's not normalize that, because usually you have a honeymoon period of about 3 years where you're fucking like rabbits, having a great time, having fights, making up sex, all that crap happens. And by the 7th year, which is the 7-year itch, which is well known, it is a real fucking mountain you cross, and you either win or you not, or you don't win. But they haven't even been together 7 years. And every time she would meet with him and he would make love to his twin, he would say, my God, I feel like I've never felt like what before. Like, I don't know what's going on. Like, what's going on? What is this? What is this? And because he's an atheist, she couldn't say, oh, we're twin flames. Yeah, this is why it's great. She couldn't say that. Not that she should. She shouldn't. But he didn't have any spiritual compass. So after a while, you start realizing, as a twin flame coach or as a healer or whatever the fuck you want to call me, you have to start telling your client, I don't know, man. He's always going to want you. He's always going to call you. He's always going to try to hook up with you. He's always going to be there. But unless he wakes up, and I mean wakes up, okay, into 4D consciousness, you're not going to be able to come into union. It's not going to work unless you want to completely lobotomize yourself. You want to completely regress your spiritual understanding of this. If you want to completely refute everything you know now. And she went, oh, hell no. I went, yeah, I know. Your ascension continues. He's stagnant. He might still be thinking the same shit in 10 years. And of course she said, I'm not waiting. I'm like, why would you? So she's now in the process of shedding this weight of expectation away from her, which is really the hardest thing, because she will always think of her twin. And when she dies, and when he dies, hopefully they'll have a meeting. I think they will. But eventually, unless he does some massive fucking growth before he drops this body, and she is done some massive growth into 5D consciousness, 4D, 5D, like solid. And he's still in 2D, 3D bullshit, right? But when he drops his body, they're talking and they're like, oh my God, I fucked up. Yeah, I guess you did. He'll incarnate back into something like 3D. And she will not follow unless she wants to fall, which has fascinated me all my life, is the Little Mermaid story. Unless she wants to fall, to go get him, to save him. And again, the Little Mermaid, she fails. As you well know, she fails. And so some of us will never do that for our twin ever again. Okay? We will not regress. We will not strip our consciousness back to 3D to match their energy. We will wait until they come to our 5D consciousness. We will wait. We will help them from across the dimensions. So this woman now that is walking away from her twin is walking towards a high-level soulmate, and it's raining men. It's raining men. She's a very beautiful woman, and she is being shown the many fuckeries of the many faces of the masculine's toxicity. Liking pictures on Instagram of bimbos. Sorry. Oh, do I offend you? Too bad. Bimbos. Probably having an account with an OnlyFans model. My client didn't even know what an OnlyFans is. I'm not kidding. Because she's kind of like she's a woman of great integrity and some level of purity, to be honest. I'll just say it that way. She's a freaking bed, though, for the right beloved. I'll tell you that. And why am I telling you that? Because men confuse bimbos with women of integrity and power and elegance. You think we're all alike. And that's where you're wrong. And that's why you're fucking up. That's why you keep having babies with bimbos who will harm you, fuck you over, cheat on you, fuck your friend just to get back at you, take everything you own. And then you'll take it out on the next woman who's a good woman. Because you don't recognize the difference. And I'm seeing the patterns. One person I know is a masculine who's actually, he could have his choice. He's a very good looking man, has been celibate for 8 years because he's terrified of women. He doesn't trust himself anymore. He hasn't trusted himself in a long time. He cannot discern the difference between a dangerous woman, a stupid woman, a woman who will actually make his life miserable, and a fucking good woman. Can you imagine what has happened to us that you guys can't discern the difference in energetic frequency of a good woman? You don't just listen to what people say, my friends. You see if their words match their actions. Do they walk their talk? 80% of the time. 80% is a good number. Because no one's perfect. Not every man, every woman is going to walk their talk every fucking day and be perfect. No one can be perfect. But 80 to 90%, are they actually walking their talk? Okay? So sometimes it's good to like really listen, not just with your ears, but on a cellular level. On a soul, on a deep soul level. Am I sitting next to someone I should continue having conversations with, or should I call it a day and thank them for the time and thank you for the coffee, it was fun, bye. I'm not your person. And I think radical honesty, we keep talking about it, it's great. I love the t-shirt, radical honesty. I'm radically honest. Yes, but radical honesty means they're just two words that mean absolutely fucking nothing unless you live it. And radical honesty is that. You don't string people along. You court, or when the attraction first begins, I really like you. What does that mean? Well, it means I want to see you more. Okay. Well, I don't have sex on the second date, third date, fourth date. Does that work for you? Because I'm not going to have sex with you. See, you have to be honest. You know, because men are kind of, no offense, most of you guys are fucking idiots. I like you, I want to see you more. Does that mean you want me to give it up? No, you should say, I like you, I want to see you more, and I don't want to pressure you in any way sexually. Let's see where it goes. Let's see how we get along. Just in conversations, our politics, you should say that. And as a woman, you should say, if you don't hear that, say, I'd love that, but just so you know, I don't have sex with a man at least until 3 months after I know him. Or 6, whatever the fuck your rule is. And you might say, oh no, I want to get laid. Well, I mean, I because there are women like that who, oh no, I just want to do it. I just, the second day is when I do it. I would ask you why. Why are you so free with your sexuality? And I'm not telling you to be a fucking prude. I'm telling you that once those hormones erupt out of you as a woman, you are all in with that man, whether he's toxic or not. And you won't even know if he's a serial killer or not until months later. So I mean, it's like you would think, and I'm being dramatic as this example, but you would think that you might want to, I don't know, put the pause button on your desires and find out if this is the man you want to live, wake up every morning for the next 20 years of your life or 30. Of course, it might change. Things end. All things end. And new things begin. I mean, that's just how it is. All things end. All things begin. But you would think that by the 21st century, we would have refined the act of courtship. That it would be absolutely so beautiful to watch. That us elders would look at you guys going, wow, you guys have mastered this shit. No, actually, you've actually fucked it up. It's worse than it was. It's actually stupid now. Stupid. Weird. So what are your answers? What do you think would help you refine courtship again? Refine seeing if this connection based on how you look, because let's be honest with you, both parties are attracted to each other. It's a physical attraction that hits you in the beginning. And then afterwards, what people say afterwards is when the attraction goes either up or fucking slides off the cliff. When I met my beloved, my twin, not my husband, but my beloved, it was massive sexual attraction. It was fucking insane. And then we sat down and started talking about reincarnation. And the attraction went up, but so did the soul connection. And for whatever reason, our soul contract was on a trajectory of connecting deeper bonding through spirituality, not fucking. And that's exactly what happened. So I feel so strongly for you all, because people are celebrating being child-free and husband-free and man-free, and good. I'm glad. Seriously, some women, some men should have no business having children. Trust me. I think we know this. Some people should be single, and God bless them. Enjoy. You should be. In fact, some people incarnate to be single, to have friends with benefits or a lover they meet every Thursday and Friday, or whatever the situation or arrangements are. This is perfectly normal and fine. But be honest with what you want. And let's try to refine how some of you who do want the children, who do want the partnership, like how can we make it happen so that you can have an opportunity to bond? Because I'm worried about you guys. I'm not kidding. Like, I've done a couple lives on sexuality, and I went nitty gritty. I think it was last week. You might want to scan through my shit and see what's up on YouTube. But anyway, and there are a couple things I'm realizing is that the level of intimacy that is blissing you guys out is damn near absent. It's not as good as it should be. And part of the reason why it's not is because you're not connecting on a soul level. And liking the way a girl looks is not as sexually potent as liking the way a girl looks and feeling a soul bond. The soul bond is the chemistry that makes you want to lick them from head to toe, where you want to literally eat them up. And that goes for men and women. And what's happening is people are hooking up with absolutely no understanding that if there's no soul connection, you might as well be having sex with a rubber doll, because it's not going to connect. You're going to feel like it's vanilla, pedestrian, what I call pedestrian sex. So that's why it's important to just, have a month or maybe 2 weeks of just, I would say even 2 weeks, honestly, because within 2 weeks, you should know whether or not the person's an asshole or is a match to your personality, to your desires, to your passions. If you align on the same belief systems, like if you're a Republican, don't marry a Democrat. If you're a fucking Christian, don't marry a New Ager. You should know this already. This is common sense. These are conversations people should have. Because if you don't, it's going to get ugly. And I don't know why people want to push that envelope either, because it never works. I've yet to see it work. Discussing sacred intimacy, share your thoughts. So that's dating, sex, and karma discussion. Ask relationship questions. Thank you, my love. Thank you for doing that. Good morning, my sister. So I'm just, talking. I'm just kicking rocks. You know what I mean? I'm just kicking rocks with you, trying to figure out what's going on, because I don't give a fuck. I'm out of the dating scene, or the coupling scene, I should say. But as an elder, I feel responsible to help as many people who are under 45 or 50 or whatever, because I figure those of you who are in your 50s, you probably know this as well as I do, how it was and what it is now, and you're probably horrified. I've heard so many women and men who just got divorced and they're going back and they're using dating apps. And yes, we have success stories on dating apps, but can I tell you a secret as a psychic? Can I just tell you something really interesting that's true? When you have a divine appointment with your beloved, the one you're supposed to be with, you don't need a dating app. It'll happen. Now, it may happen through the dating app. Don't get me wrong. Sure, because it probably is the only way. But like, I'm thinking of a particular person who actually met their person. They lived in the same city. And had they not done the dating app, they would have bumped into each other at a cafe. Because as it stands, they were actually connecting all the dots, going, oh my God, you go there? Oh my God, I love that restaurant. I love it. And they were like, connecting and realizing they were kind of going to the same joints. They probably had actually bumped shoulders and not noticed, because both of them were in a hurry and occupied. when you're supposed to have these divine appointments, when those divine appointments are set, which many of them are set in stone, it doesn't matter if it's to meet a girlfriend, a client, a lover. Oh yeah, it's happening, baby. You don't have to go on any dating app. It's going to happen at an airport, in another country, or they'll be visiting your town, or you'll be visiting them, but you will meet. And so you don't have to freak out. You don't have to say, I can't wait 10 years. I can't wait 2 years. You're not waiting, you're healing. Especially if you went through something pretty ugly, pretty devastating. Especially if you're actually realizing that your twin's never going to fucking walk up to you and be your equal. You're going to have to always lower your frequency to match them. And honestly, the universe will conspire to separate you. The universe will say, oh yeah, no, she's already doing really well, or he's doing really well, and you're not going to fuck this person up. And the universe will make sure there's separations where you could live in the same fucking town and you will not fucking bump into each other. Just as you could live in New York City and you will bump into each other when it's time, when it's right. So as a psychic, I can tell you that you need to trust that. Okay? You need to trust it and trust the universe. Your job is to, like there's a guided meditation I have, which I always talk about, but it's been a while, so I'm going to mention it again. It's on my playlist under guided meditation. Look up Purging Past Lovers and Predators, and do it. And then bring in this person that has all these qualities and watch shit happen. Okay? And if it doesn't happen to the speed that you want, that means you're not ready. It means you're not ready, and your person that you're supposed to meet is not ready. They're closing some contracts. They got shit they got to unravel. They've got to go on a reset. There are things that are still not yet done. And trust that too. Okay? But dating is a shit show. I'm watching on my app, on various apps, from Instagram to YouTube to TikTok, and I'm watching the play-by-play train wrecks of these dating, and I'm like in shock. And it's almost like, and I'm going to tell you something, these shows that used to have Dating a Bachelor, I forgot, these like reality shows of Dating a Bachelor, Dating a Bachelor, all these shows, right? From the late 90s, early 2000s, I think mostly 2000s, were by design. I think they were by design because, as I said, and I've talked to you about the fracture that was purposely done by the 1%, by various systems of oppression, one of them being creating the gender wars that we're now all enjoying. What fun. And what they were doing were creating expectations in dating that were not realistic at all. Not at all. And so now people are confused. And now people on both sides of the gender story are predatory. She wants her dinner. You want to go to bed with her. Those are predatory situations. And when I look at both people at the table, they belong to each other. But if you're a good egg, if you're a unicorn, you're a good woman or a good man, you should be able to spot them. You should be able to see them a mile away. You should be able to, the minute they come at you, ask you, and you know it's wrong. You know by the way they even walk, the way their voice sounds to you. It sounds off. It's like nails on a scratch board, on a blackboard. Please fucking run. Don't second guess. Don't offer sacred space because he's hurt. He's just got through a divorce and she was awful to him. No. Run. Vice versa. Run. Because a person that's out there dating already after a divorce, like they haven't taken a year off, or being a widow, like I was doing a reading for a woman who was actually dating a man who had been married 25, I think it was 25 years or 30 or something, definitely, let's say 25 years. And he was being pressured, quote unquote, to go dating after 10 months after his wife had died. 10 months, 25-year marriage, she dies, and within 10 months of her death, you're out dating. And so this woman was asking me in a reading, well, I mean, is he ready to commit? I go, ma'am, hang on. How long have you been dating him? 3 months. Okay, so it's been 13 months since she died. And you're asking me if he's ready to commit? Ma'am, he shouldn't even be dating anyone. And your answer, if you're not in the realm of my consciousness, you're going to ask me, well, maybe it was a bad marriage. Whoever you are that was thinking that, understand this. Even if it was a bad marriage, someone dies that you were married to for 25 years, you should sit back for about a year and a half, maybe 2, and ask yourself why you stayed in a marriage that was bad. What do you want now that you have a new opportunity to bring someone else into your life? And you should explore these things before you even put yourself back on the game, in the game. But she read with me for, what was it? This is when I was working at Psychic Source. I think it was like 6 months, 7 months. And finally said, ma'am, he's not healed. And in his case, he did love his wife. I remember that. Just remember that. He did care about his wife. And he felt like he was being disloyal to his wife. And so but it was the pressure of his family to do it and friends. And my question would be, why? What are you guys doing? Leave the person alone to grieve however they need to grieve. And do you see what I'm saying? But what it did is harm this woman. And this woman finally stopped trying, but it fucked her up. It really actually harmed her because she felt like maybe it was the way she looked because she was older. He was in his 60s. She was in her 60s. It gave her a lack of, it made her feel like she wasn't young enough looking or better looking, or she was comparing herself to the wife, and she'd never seen a picture of the wife. So she didn't know what was she was fighting a ghost, and she was actually suffering, trying to figure out why she wasn't good enough for him to commit, when in fact, it had nothing to do with her at all. She wasn't the problem. Her problem was she was trying to pressure him to commit. And his problem was he should have never, ever gone out and harmed other people. So when you're waiting for someone, right? So when you're saying, when is the universe going to bring me the love of my life? I would say to you, can you fucking let them heal before they're released to you? Can you trust the divine timing? Can you let things be? Can you go on with your life and try to explore yourself in different countries, different situations, artistically, creatively, however, whatever you need? Bury yourself in knowledge and books and spirituality. Get to know God. How's that for an idea? When you go into your meditation, intend to see God. Go set up the meeting. I'm going to sit in a meditation. I'm going to go see God. I'm going to see if I can see God. I'm going to see if I can actually, get near this incredible, intense presence that created me God knows when. And then trust that when the person is fully ready and healed, they will come. Because if they are released to you when they're not ready, or when you're not ready, you're going to fuck it up. You're going to harm each other. You're going to create delays. You're going to have fights or some kind of fracture that could take 2 to 3 years of separation before you're brought back together. In other words, don't be so quick to feel like you need someone, anyone, so badly that you can't be alone another day, because if you are, you can't breathe. Our current system has been put in place, by others, of course, but there is an exercise of opportunity to literally figure out who you are, not just in this incarnation, right? Do you even know yourself in this incarnation? I mean, seriously. But other incarnations, activating, excavating past lives, possibly future lives, I kid you not, based on your ascension, based on your energetic frequency, to open portals to show you what's possible in your future life. I've had access to that. What my next incarnation is going to look like when I drop this body. I already know what's possible. Do you understand? Do you? And so when your partner, say you have a high-level soulmate that's not in your life right now. Say you have a twin flame that's still fucking around. Say you have no one. And you want someone because you can't do it anymore. I would say to you, there's a reason. I kind of just described all of them. And then the nectar will come. The nectar will come. You will. There was a woman a young woman, she was under 25. Bodybuilding, the whole bit, hitting the gym, taking care of her body, blah, blah, blah. Very, very sweet, loving kid, okay? And she was pressured, as her boyfriend was pressured, it was a high-level soulmate, and I've told you this story before, but I'll tell it to you again, to not talk to him, to ghost him. That's another fucking trend that needs to stop, okay? But anyway, so they ghosted each other, and then she had a dream of him, and then she decided to go on Facebook, and through the Facebook, he was under 30, he was dead. There was an obituary or a eulogy or whatever you want to call it on Facebook, on his account. He was gone. And so she had a hard time, and she worked with me so I could teach her how to connect with him, so she could understand that it was time for him to go, that he couldn't be part of this system. It was too painful for him. He was dealing with addictions, and the universe had mercy and said, let's take him home. Time to get him home. Within about a year and a half of working with me, and her toxic mother and her toxic mother's boyfriend, who's a creep, a predator and a creep, she finally was able to create boundaries. She was finally able to forgive herself with this young man who she realized he was in a better place than he'd ever been on this planet, okay? That's a fact. Some of you have to realize that is a truth. It's a hard truth, but it happens. And she finally found a fantastic man who adores her. Her mother-in-law adores her. And she has just, she's been pregnant. She got pregnant. But she had to go through what I would call an 18-month excavation, self-forgiveness, forgiveness, release, being reset, creating boundaries, seeing her mother for what she was, seeing her family for what they were, toxic as fuck, but, and then creating boundaries for each of them for different reasons. And then finally, a man walked into her life. You see what I'm saying? And so I want you to have trust, not hope, not faith, trust. Isn't that fabulous? Just trust the process. Trust the universe. Trust the timing. Don't lose your fucking mind. Don't understand. Andromeda wants to share something, which is great. Hang on. Andromeda says that kind of pressure is so toxic that poor man has now created karmic entanglement. Exactly. Yeah, that widower, right, who was pressured to go dating people for the fuck of it. And by the way, did I mention they had sex? So it really entangled her, because women are going to have the cuddling hormones exploded out of them the minute they're held, much less having sex. Okay, this is a problem that we have a problem as women, okay? There's an article I read a while back, and I have to tell you the story, which is really cool. So, when I was in my 40s, I was being called a cougar, Anyway, it's a long story, but suffice it to say, I was never a practicing cougar. I just looked like a cougar, but we'll go on. And one of the articles I read, which I'll never forget, is that some of these cougars would take in these young men to their bed, and one of the rules of engagement was no fucking eye contact. Don't fucking look at me in the eyes when we're having sex. Don't look at me in the eyes at all. And I realized that the reason why that was a rule of engagement was because the eye contact is the bond. And it's particularly, I think, more powerful for women than men. Men use it to seduce and contain and possess and own. Women use it to invite and, to connect deeply on a soul level. So it made sense to me, though I thought I was cold as fuck. But suffice it to say that that whole cougar thing was something that I feel was a season for a lot of women in the early 2000s. And I don't see it at play anymore as much, at least not as much. I know Susan Winter had come up with a book that was an Oprah Winfrey bestseller called Older Women, Younger Men, which was a really well-written book. But again, there's an imbalance. And women who have done this, who have actively pursued this, end up alone and shattered. Not all, because not all women are wired like that. Some women are more in their, when you look at them, they look like very feminine, very Shakti energy, but internally they're more like masculines. In other words, they look at sex the way most men look at sex. They can actually disengage, and it's a different type of woman. But then again, I have, going on to another subject, I had a client who was in his 70s, and I mentioned him before, and I saw a lot of men in their 60s and 70s who wanted 20-year-old girls. They didn't want women their age. Well, women, they're my age, they just don't go to the gym. Yeah, actually they do. I was one of them. A lot of women at a certain age go to the gym, do yoga, stretching. There's some beautiful women on TikTok right now as we speak that are in amazing shape. So men like that, to me, are infantile. Absolutely infantile. They're worthless to me. Because as I grew up, and it's something that I'd love to talk to a psychologist, a Jungian psychologist, not a Freudian one, a young one, Jungian, would be about how, as I was growing, I was attracted to men my age. 30, I'm attracted to men my age. 40, I'm attracted to men my age. 50, I'm attracted to men my age. That development was interesting. My beloved was older than me by 15 years, but he looked like he was 15, 20 years younger. I was attracted to men my age. You see what I'm saying? So what is it about men? I know we have examples of Mick Jagger, and we have Keith Richards and other guys that they look like they've been embalmed, that still chase 20-year-old chicks. And we've normalized that as that's what you should want. And that, to me, is toxic as fuck unless there's a soul bond. I'm thinking of the movie Harold and Maude right now, which was a movie in the 60s that came out, and Maude was like in her 80s or 90s, and Harold was like 19, I believe. It was an actual real movie. You should look it up. It's funny. It was a farce, like a satire in a way, but it was a love story. But my point to you is that I feel as if, like, what the fuck is wrong with men that they want their granddaughter to be their lover? That's so weird to me. It's so inappropriate. So it's actually a sickness. It's literally a sickness. And just because you have girls that are 20 that are attracted to you because you're a silver fox, you should be patting them on the head and saying, "Oh, little girl, you'll meet a man one day, but I'm old enough to be your granddaddy." And I feel like that lack of honesty and integrity that is so prevalent in our society and has been since I was 14, since I started having older men. And I'm seriously, it didn't matter what you look like. If you're a 14-year-old girl, you're going to have older men. It has nothing to do with how you look. Trust me. So I'm not trying to put myself on a pedestal and say, oh, no. 14-year-old girls are constantly fucking being harassed by old men. There's not a woman alive that doesn't know that truth. Not one. Right? So now, at the age of 14, I started seeing that. And I was in shock that at 14, well, actually, I started seeing that at 8, but I figured they were pedos. But by the time I'm 14, at that point, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to be dating maybe a man that's like a teenage boy that's like 16, 17. That makes sense to me, right? But no, it was the men, the 45 plus year old men, literally trying to date me at 14. What is that? And when, and this is not evolution, this is not normal, this is toxic patriarchy. And yes, it's 2,000 years old, but it is not normal. That's why you have certain cultures, and I don't mean religion, let's not confuse the religion. We have certain cultures where men think it's normal to marry an 8-year-old. And then they're in shock when the child doesn't survive the wedding night. Shocker. Oh, really? But that has been normalized because of, well, let's travel down the primrose path of scriptures. It's mentioned in the Bible, in the Old Testament. It's mentioned in some books, some Jewish books. I won't go into it. Do your own research. And it's mentioned in the Quran. Right? Okay. But we know it's harmful, like literally not just psychologically harmful, spiritually fracturing a child's soul, but it's actually physically dangerous. Most people, most children won't survive it. So why the fuck are grown men in the Western world thinking it's okay to sexualize underage schoolgirls? That's the $1 million question. And men in your men's group, men will be men, right? Kind of group. They will congratulate each other for dating barely legal, or what looks like barely legal. And that is your responsibility in the masculine community to stop this shit, like straight up. You should watch my live I did last night on, some of this nuanced of how sexuality was, well, it's been weaponized against us by the 1%, by the powers that be, to control us, to confuse us, to fracture us. A child that can survive being essayed, right, isn't going to be right for a long time. If the child has been essayed for years, there will be a fracture of the personality. Sybil, multiple personalities will occur in some cases. Why is that done? Why is this important? Well, because it keeps you fucking on your knees. And so to protect anyone from the time they're born until they're like 19, 20, 20, whatever, right? Protect him from any sexual trauma should be the concern of every elder, every masculine elder, every feminine elder, every young one. Everyone should be all hands on deck on that one. But we're just kicking rocks on the subject because look, the E-files. These grown-ass women, I just saw a video, these grown-ass women have to, who are, in their 40s now, have to show pictures of what they look like when they were girls to prove that they're victims. Some of them are still fucked up. So why is it important to take the most important thing, which is your root chakra, and destroy it, fracture it? Why has it been normalized through these Abrahamic religions that have splintered? Mormon religion, you Mormons, you're so, not all of you. Why are 14-year-old girls being married to old, dried up men? That's bizarre, and it's allowed. Elvis Presley, I never liked him. Why? Well, because he was, her family, Priscilla's family was allowed to. Jerry Lee Lewis, 14. Shall I go on? Not normal, not okay. And the gender wars, the female rage, is from women, and I'm going to tell you what I hear. 14-year-old girls going in a sleepover, trying to figure out if the father of her best friend did something to her. Not remembering, blacking out. Now, why would a grown-ass man want to do anything with his daughter's friends who are 14, 15, 16 years old? Where does that come from? Well, I think I've mentioned it, where it comes from. Why is it still being normalized with all the information we have on what it does to human beings, what it does to the mind, what it does to the soul, how long it takes for the soul to recover from that kind of trauma? Why are we still not fucking putting foot to ass to a patriarchy that supports it and a matriarchy that looks away? That's the question. And so things will start collapsing, because I think that we're coming through such a level of ascension that 5D requires radical honesty, clarity, massive purging. You can't purge shit unless you know what you're purging. You see what I'm saying? Like, you literally have to look at it dead in the eyes. Right? And many aren't going to cross over. I'm not, and it's not an elitist comment. It's a truth. It's just, you're not a match to that kind of power. So if you're having little fantasies about your babysitter that's 15, 16 years old, you may want to fucking fix yourself. If you think the 17-year-old pool boy is hot as a woman, fix yourself. If you're in your 40s or 50s, you should fix yourself. If you can't see these people as your children, grandchildren, niece or nephews, you got some healing to do. Sending you much love on your journey.